Well, hey there, and welcome to the very first episode, the premiere episode of the Take a Stand show. My name's Tracy Wilson, and it is my pleasure to be here with you today. Some of you guys might recognize me, or you recognize my background from another show that I do called Unlocked. And you might be wondering, why the heck, Tracy, are you doing two shows now? Well, let me tell you. I'm going to tell you very shortly why I decided to do another show, why I decided to put together the Take a Stand show, why I felt that this was so important to do right now. Now, you might also recognize me from the best-selling book called The She Myth. So I'm one of the co-authors of the book that has just been launched called The She Myth. And again, I'll tell you a little bit about the She Myth book, but really that was the catalyst to me actually creating this show. So about 2 weeks ago, we launched the She Myth book. And as we were launching the She Myth book, so many women were really thoroughly enjoying that book and the content of it. And they gave us some feedback, and they were doing reviews and telling us their amazing stories, or the stories that they had where they had succumbed to the She Myth. And it wasn't until they read the book that they actually realized, oh, wow, you know what? I didn't have a problem. It wasn't a problem with myself. I was actually She Myth. And I don't want to tell you too much about it because I don't want to give away all the secrets of the book, because you need to head on over and purchase a copy of the book, because when you read it, it will enlighten you as to some of the things that you have probably experienced in your life as a woman. And it will also help you to share those She Myth stories with your daughters, your friends, your girlfriends, your granddaughters, so on and so forth, so that they can recognize when they're being She Myth and they know exactly what they need to do about it. So as a result of that book, I then started thinking about, do you know what? One of the things that we talk about in the book is about someone being a woman that can stand up, take a seat at the business table, stand firm on what it is that you believe in, and then being able to stand out and not being afraid to do all of these things. So the book in itself can only go so far, can only reach so many people. Again, with your guys' help, we can reach lots of people. But I know that by creating a show and shedding light on this particular subject and allowing other women to be brought to the stage, bring them to the forefront, allow them to share their stories that are both inspirational, motivational, heartfelt stories, and the secrets that they've had for success to actually overcome and beat the odds to create success across their family, their business, and their life. Now, why have I decided to do it across all three of those and not just in business? Well, because as women, we can be successful in all of those. We can actually have it all, and we should. And even if you even if you have success in one aspect of your life because you've chosen, it's your decision to stay home with your children, and you're doing that extremely well, I want to champion those women too, because we're being successful across so many different areas. So over the coming week, so this Take a Stand show will be once a week. So every Thursday, Australian Brisbane time at 10 a.m., I will go live with the Take a Stand show, and I will be interviewing women who I feel are inspirational, who've been motivational, or have got a really heartfelt story that they can share to actually bring light to the She Myth, and then also help other women to take a stand, to stand firm on what it is that they believe in and be a real champion for them. Now, one of the questions that I get, and I wanted to cover this off in this premiere show, and it's really an interesting thing to me, because to be honest, I've never really seen myself as, if somebody said, well, you're a feminist, I've never really seen myself as a feminist, right? But when I really think about it, am I? Well, yes, I am. I am a feminist in a lot of ways, because I am all about women, helping my sisters step up, stand out, and work together to really make the world a better place. Does that mean that I dog out on men? No, absolutely not. I mean, I'm married to a wonderful man. I have 3 great sons, and I'm absolutely a champion for men too. So what is this all about? Is it about just women? Heck no, it's not. But it is about each and every individual really being true to who they are and taking a stand and feeling like they can do that without the fear and judgment of others. So this show over the next year or two, or however long it goes for, hopefully forever, will continue to bring to light amazing women so that they can share their inspiration, their motivation, and their heartfelt stories. Now, I wanted to share today too how the book actually came about and part of my story as to why I feel so strongly about this. So again, if you've watched the Unlocked show, I sort of talked about this a lot in the very first episode of Unlocked. But I was a young girl who was brought up in a small town in New Zealand and loved, living there and growing up in that particular town. And I ended up pregnant at the age of 15 years old and was due to have a baby when I was 16. And at that time, luckily for me, I'm going to say that I had an extremely supportive family. So I was very, very lucky in that sense. However, others in the community were not so supportive, even to the point where, a lot of teachers would say to me, oh, well, you've done it now. That's the end of you. You'll be nothing more than a stay-at-home doll bludging mother. That's kind of the future that you have now paid for yourself. You made the bed, now you've got to lie in it. So that was really the I suppose a lot of what I was hearing at that time. And if I look back now and I think about that at that time, I very much could have succumbed to that she myth, or to that myth of teenage mothers, that's all you end up being, which is totally not true. And why it's not true is because we actually have a choice. And at that time, I had a choice as to what I was going to do. And working through that process, I mean, you can imagine all the different options that were laid out for me at that time. And lucky for me, I was a little naive, but also rather stubborn, and said, no, that's not the pathway that I want to buy into. I want to do something very, very different. And I think just because I'm in this, let's say, air quotes situation, doesn't mean that my future looks the way in which you are painting for me. I can paint I can paint and I can start living a very different life to the one that you think I'm going to have. So I wanted to make sure that when I shared these stories, and when you read the She Myth book, that it is a story of hope. It is a story of inspiration and motivation to allow other women to really step into themselves and not have to buy into the she myths or the stereotypes that are out there. Funnily enough, I'm going to tell you this, since also writing the She Myth book, we've had some questions about, and even one of our team members had a question brought to her that said, since when did you become, one of those women who is a feminist, or, burn the bras? And she was like, huh? I don't really understand where you're coming from. I've always been somebody who's been pro woman. I'm also pro men. I am about people working together for the betterment of themselves and also for the greater society, for humanity. So I think it's time. I wanted to take a stand on this and say, do you have to be, an activist and completely on, right hand side, right out there being, pro the woman and, bugger the men? Do you have to be that to really take a stand and be somebody that is prepared to step up and support other women to enable them to change the narrative? Do you have to be that? Well, in my case, I think the answer is absolutely not. You can become a strong woman who supports both men and women for the greater good. So that's what the show is all about. Predominantly, it's going to be for women. So we are all about, taking a stand for women and allowing women to step up. And I want to share with you some information and some statistical data as to why this is so important, because it doesn't matter how much you cut the data up, the facts are the facts. And the facts are that women are often are seen as taking a secondary role. And we are almost corralled into doing that because of the societal stereotypes and expectations that we've had for centuries and centuries. And if you are inside of our book launch group, so if you go to the She Myth book launch group, you'll actually see that I'm doing a series of what we call She Myth eliminators. So I'm interviewing a number of different women about the she myths that they have had and how they overcome them, so that when we share them as women, other women can say, do you know what? Oh, okay, that's a she myth. That happened to me. I took that on board and claimed it as an issue of my own, and claimed it as creating part of the fabric of who I am, when in fact it's actually not. It was just a she myth. So when you start to understand that these are just things that have happened to you, they don't define you, it enables you to dismiss those and allow yourself to move forward with confidence, with clarity, and being able to be a very strong, grounded woman that is able to do anything that you want to do in life. So I want to share these things with you. So have you ever been a woman that's been told, just calm down? Why? Because you've got a little bit, passionate about what it is that you're talking about. Just calm down. You're getting on your high horse. Have you ever had that happen to you? And, also when you're doing something that someone might say to you, well, that's not very ladylike. And so all of these kind of different myths that are brought to the forefront, and that we take them on board as going, well, maybe that isn't very ladylike. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe I shouldn't be playing rugby, or, hanging out with the guys playing basketball, or whatever the case may be, because it's not seen as right or as normal. Girls should be over there and the boys should be over there. So if you've ever had any of these sort of things happen to you, and one of the things that I want to make sure that I do is, this is just about bringing light to it, so that we as a society, we can start to think about, when I say things, when the things come out of my mouth, how does that actually impact others? So also things like, wow, you look great. How much weight have you lost? So all of these like backhanded comments or backhanded compliments that women often get. You look great for your age, or, or things like, you can't do that because you're not skinny enough, or you can't do that because you're not pretty enough. So all of these things that we hear, and maybe that we even tell ourselves, that prevent us from being able to do all the things that we are capable of doing. And often we severely underestimate what we are capable of doing. So I was going to share with you some statistical data. So let me just pull this up now. So interestingly enough, when we looked at the data around this, so this is like 2019 data, and it was pulled from a survey, a United States Census survey, and it says something like 12.9 million companies in the USA alone were owned by women. In fact, women own 4 out of every 10 businesses. So that's really interesting. So that's a great, in some ways you might go, well, that's a great statistic. Women are, at the forefront. They are doing all the things that they need to be doing. 4 out of 10, well, that's pretty good. But when you break that down, it's not really, that's not equality. We're not seeing women at the forefront of as many businesses as they possibly could be. And then when you dig a little bit deeper, in fact, women own 4 out of every 10 businesses. And another important fact to explore is that, why is 88% of women-owned businesses? So as I said before, women are owning businesses, and they're doing reasonably well. So statistically, we're 4 out of every 10. But then why is it that only 88% of those women-owned businesses actually generate less than $100,000 in revenue per year? And only 1.7% of those women-owned businesses actually generated more than $1 million in revenue per year. So you start to ask yourself these questions. Why is that? Why is that actually happening? So Take a Stand is about enabling women to step up and be part of that, I'm going to say, minority that are earning more than $1 million a year. And if I can help share the stories, these inspirational stories of women all over the world, then it may just help one woman or 2 women or 3 women. And hopefully we start a bit of a ripple effect here, where we start to see more and more women taking the primary role in their families, taking a primary role in terms of business, etc., etc. So interesting too, even though we are opening more businesses than ever before, we're not earning anywhere near the amount of money that we absolutely could. So I want you to imagine this. Imagine the world economy, what the world economy would be like right now if each of those 88% of women who only made $100,000 a year actually joined the 1.7% of women who made more than $1 million a year. So just imagine what would actually happen to the world, to the well-being of the world if that were the case. So there's a few different things that we're looking at in terms of the Take a Stand show. But today was just about introducing it, introducing who I am, introducing you to the book and the concept of the show. And also, this is a bit of a call out to women all over the world. If you are a woman who has got an inspirational, motivational, and a heartfelt story that you would like to share that could impact other women, then I want to hear from you, because I would love you to be on the show. I want you to share that story, because together we can start making a real impact to the lives of not only women, but girls all over the world. And like Robin Helm said earlier today, when I was interviewing her on one of the She Myth Eliminator series, she was talking about how she took a stand about 20 years ago because she wanted to play a boys' sport at the time, and she was told no, and how she really fought for that, and that actually made a huge difference to the fact that women are able to now play that sport and many other sports. So I took my hat off to Robin Helm for actually taking a stand on that. So I wanted to, so today is all about just introducing that. I'm going to be back every Thursday for another episode of Take a Stand. Next week, I'm going to have a very inspirational woman with me who's going to be sharing her inspirational, motivational, and heartfelt story that will also be able to help you as a female identify the she myths when they come up, and you will know exactly what to do about them. And you will know that you've got other sisters out there who are going to be standing right there with you, arm in arm, ready to help you stand up, stand firm, and stand out in the world of business, family, and life. So thanks very much for being with me today. I hope you guys are on board. You loving the, you love the concept of the show, and that if you've got any other woman that you think would be amazing to be on the show, please let them know and tell them to get in touch with me. You can go to tracymwilson.com, and there is a link where they can apply to be a guest on the show. But for now, let me share this with you. I want to pull up the She Myth. So if you would like a copy of the She Myth, it is actually available now in both Kindle and paperback and hardback version. All you need to do is head on over to www.theshemythbook.com and you can grab your copy there. But for now, I'm going to say thanks very much for watching. Go ahead, make sure that you are somebody who is ready to step up, stand out, stand firm, and be somebody who is ready to share, because I want you on the show. So I'll see you again next time, this time Thursday next week. Bye for now.